come here, eat rice, hang out.
I don't know what there is to do in the Philippines.
I haven't heard much about it. I heard it was beautiful.
Is there any TV there?
What is there to do in Manila? Do they have really good Mexican food, like enchiladas?
Eat Filipino food.
Eat rice. I believe there are people with rice hats, and they're picking rice.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Tucker and welcome to virtualbusinesslifestyle.com. Today I wanted to share with you a question actually that I get asked quite a bit, and that is what it's like to live and work here in the Philippines. Now I've been here about 10 years, as most of you probably know if you've seen me on the blog before, and you know, I got used to a lot of the cultural differences and that sort of type of thing. I still can't live without the air conditioning, and I still get sunburn, unfortunately, when I spend the whole day at the beach with my staff, and that's going to be in an upcoming post. But there was a few things that I wanted to kind of go through and share with you, and try and break that down a little bit into this very condensed post. And I'll try and keep these certain sections relatively short so that you don't fall asleep. I guess it all comes back to my first trip here to the Philippines, which was in 1996. And basically I came over from Hong Kong. I was here visiting friends, and we decided that we were going to take a trip up to the northern part of the country to see the Benari rice terraces. And halfway up there, it was very late at night, halfway up there we stayed with I think it was a distant cousin of one of the guys that we were travelling with. I was the only foreigner, or expat as we're known here, in the contingency, and I was just amazed. I was blown away. I'd heard about the Filipino hospitality and things like that, but I was amazed. We arrived at a very modest house. There was only one bedroom in the house, and with one bed, a sofa area with a living room area, dining room and kitchen, all sort of into one main area. And I had never met this family before. It was a family of about 4 or 5 living in this house, all sleeping in the same bed in that one bedroom, and they gave up the bedroom, the bed, everything basically to me as their guest. And that experience with me has never left me actually in the 10 years that I've been here. And people often say when they visit me here in the Philippines that I'm very hospitable to them, and I pick them up from the airport and look after them and take them out and tour them around and things like that. And I guess a little bit of that Filipino culture is rubbing off on me, and I enjoy doing all those things. So that initial first experience of the Philippines and Filipino people to me was very special and has stayed with me for a long, long time. And that goes on to the next point I wanted to make in regards to the importance of family to the Filipino people. They are very, very close family orientated people with many, many degrees of family living within the same house. And the houses here predominantly are relatively small places. So it's not like there's lots of different bedrooms and things like that. And it's not rare at all to have grandparents, parents and children all living in that same area, sometimes even sharing the same bedrooms and beds, like I experienced on that first trip up north of the country. So it's very, very important. And the studying side of things here in the Philippines, you'll find a lot of people that are out working. They're not just doing it for themselves, but they're doing it for their family, and particularly for their siblings, their brothers and sisters that are probably they're probably helping putting through school and college and things like that. So the Filipinos' mentality on studying and wanting to get a good education, I believe, has become more and more mainstream. There's more and more universities and colleges now than there ever have been in the history of the country, and the quality of the education now is obviously a lot higher than it ever has been as well. And there's a lot of people that work for me solely to put their brothers and sisters through college, and that's very admirable, and I take my hat off to them all the way. The Filipinos' mentality to working. And I got asked this question actually on my recent webinar, where people said, are they reliable? Are Filipino workers reliable? They absolutely are. They take an incredibly serious approach to work. Obviously there's a few duds here and there, but that's just not the Philippines, that's everywhere in the world, right? And across the board they are extremely professional, extremely dedicated, and very, very reliable people to work with and have working for you. In terms of getting around the country, there's a number of different ways to be able to do it. Locally, if you really wanted to go local, you could hop on the back of a tricycle, which is very much like the tuk-tuk in Thailand, but in a slightly more condensed, less scary way, although they can still be quite scary. You have the local jeepney, which is almost like an international emblem for the Philippines. You see a lot of these little toy jeepneys and things like that on the internet and in travel brochures and things like that, and they're amazing. I mean, it's not something that you would do on a regular basis as a foreigner living here, because the taxis are just so damn cheap. But if you're a tourist and you're in the Philippines for the first time, you definitely want to hop on the back of a jeepney or two and make sure that you enjoy the experience. There's also obviously local domestic airlines to get from one island to another, and boats and super jets and things like that as well. So living in the Philippines in regards to getting around the country and enjoying the country is very, very easy. And that leads me on to one of the questions I think is probably what I get asked the most, and that is it safe here? You know, it is a third world country, still a developing country. It does have its troubles every now and then, particularly on the political side of things. I think, you know, that in itself gets a little bit of bad press as well. But you know what? Anywhere in the world, you're going to have good aspects and bad aspects of living in that country, or that country's politics, or the way that life is in that country. And for all intents and purposes, the Philippines is very, very safe. I've been here 10 years. I've never had a problem. I've never felt unsafe in any way whatsoever. But you obviously have to use a little bit of common sense as well. I mean, you don't go walking around, you know, in back alleys at 2 a.m. in the Philippines. But then again, you don't do it in New York or London or anywhere else for that matter. So, you know, a little bit of common sense in place. It's a very, very safe country to come and visit and live and work in. And again, I've never had any major issues at all. I'm sure you guys won't either. And I think I'd like to wrap up this quick clip with a question that I've been asked quite a bit about recently, and that is, what's it like to sort of come over here from a business standpoint, set up shop and start doing business? And really, to be honest with you guys, this is a big one. This answer could go on for quite some time, and maybe I'll answer it in a future post. But in a nutshell, to come over and settle here and live here and maybe work out of your home and employ the odd virtual staff member here and there is actually very, very simple. It's not too tough at all. Visa-wise, you want to make sure that obviously you're covered, and that's definitely a topic for another post if you require it, or I can even maybe suggest that you go and check out Dan Andrews' site over at outsourcetothephilippines.com, which I'll put a link below the video clip here too, because he's got some really good quality content in regards to that sort of stuff. But you know, setting up shop here is pretty tough in regards to corporations and sole proprietorships and things like that. Ultimately, you do need to have Filipinos involved as foreigners. You can't just come in and just set up a company. Obviously, unless you've got some real good quality connections locally, either via family or friends or whatever the case may be, you're going to be taking risks by getting people involved, and not because they're Filipino, but because they're complete strangers. So, you know, you wouldn't have a stranger as a business partner or a director in your company in the United States, for example, if you didn't know them, and therefore here in the Philippines it's a similar sort of thing. So that kind of rounds up my little clip here on what it's like to live and work in the Philippines.